DIY.
Ice Cube was recently on Earn Your Leisure, and they were asking him a number of questions about his Big 3 league, his career in the movies, but then they asked him something really interesting about, is the rap battle era over?
Miss that element of hip hop? Like I said, I mean, of course, nobody wants to see violence and stuff like that, but do you miss the element? Because there's still people beefing each other now, but now it's real beef. Like, do you miss the element of people actually making? Because it's not easy to make a song about somebody. You got to think, you got to do research. Like, do you miss that part of hip hop?
He had to think about that one. I wasn't old enough to know about all of the politics that was happening in the streets back when he was beefing with NWA and Eazy-E. But if it's anything like the things that I was hearing from folks who were out there and in these movies, I'm pretty sure he getting a quick flashback of like physical fights based upon songs and all of the stuff that we don't even get to hear about. It felt like one of them Nassau Raven flashbacks. My man's had one of them quick ones real quick. Like let me think about this one for a second.
I don't know. You know, it's like fighting. You know, it's cool when somebody else is fighting. You watch, but when you in the fight, you don't know where it's really gonna go.
Hey,
I don't know how cool you feel.
It's like battle rap.
It's kind of like you putting, not only yourself but your crew in some kind of possible danger. You know what I mean? You don't know how out of hand it's ever gonna get, and usually when people battling or going at it like that on the record, it's serious before they get a chance to have a conversation. Sometimes they can squash it.
Ice Cube was asked the question about if he misses the style of battles that occurred in hip hop that were really about skill versus skill. My bars are better than your bars, and not necessarily the kind of shit that has you landing in jail, right? Not the kind that has these folks on these side who lose their lives based upon these particular rap battles. And you see him really go deep into thought because there's probably a part of him, I'm assuming, that just as a hip hop fan, who doesn't love to watch two Spartans go against one another? I'm 38 now. I would never forget the era of Jay-Z versus Nas. I will never forget that because of just not knowing what was going to happen next and just seeing the display of lyricism and knowing that a different type of energy was fueling it. If you're not talking about the traditional rap battle league, if you're not talking about the URLs, if you're not talking about the arenas in which people understand what it is beforehand, what is there to miss? And secondly, can those kind of battles happen if they're not in an actual official league and there not be consequences that occur because of the hypersensitivity that a lot of people have?
When you in the fight, you don't know where it's really gonna go. I don't know how cool you feel.
It's like battle rap.
It's kind of like you putting, not only yourself but your crew in some kind of possible danger.
Rap battling now without, as Ice Cube alluded to, some kind of understanding that this is all on wax seems like such a dangerous sport, especially when you're talking about people who are not only employing themselves through music, but are employing their families, their squads, their protection, their early investors. You know what I'm getting at? They're street investors. When that money has an opportunity to get cut because you made a song, although the artist may have a tough skin, not everybody else can be accounted to have the same thick skin. It's even more dangerous when things like this happen. Lil Durk speaks on labels trying to pay him to beef. So this is a tweet that he put up. Lil Durk, if you don't know, is a Chicago-based rapper. He just flat out said it. Labels are attempting to reach out to him to pay him to beef with their artists. I just put up this post a few days ago. Most of y'all got it. Some of y'all was caping for them companies like they your daddy. How do record labels dodge RICO charges if they're providing the funds to kids who they signed based off of their violent-based music? If it was anybody else's money, they're taking you down with them. It don't make sense to me. Ray, it doesn't make sense to me either, especially when I see stories like this. Now, if we take Durk at his word, he has a reason to lie. How are these labels not a part of RICO charges that come down when you're encouraging artists through monetary means to involve themselves in activities like beef songs that may have repercussions out of the control of, say, a Lil Durk? Say you got somebody from Lil Durk's entourage that comes across this label paid for beef, and they happen to not see the other artist, but they see somebody that is a part of their entourage, and that person gets killed. How is that not something that you can involve the labels in the conversation of? Especially when they have the opportunity to say, hey, there's nothing on paper. We don't, he made this up. DIYers, I almost lost this YouTube channel negotiating with a scammer posing as a potential sponsor. Because of that situation, I would love for these videos specifically to be absolutely sponsor free. Consider joining the official DIYer Patreon at patreon.com/Curtis King. For as little as $5 a month, you can get access to all of these live streams that these clips are created from in its full entirety. We also have other tiers that allow us to meet every single Sunday. We do things like social media boot camps, live Q&As, and more. Come join us at patreon.com/Curtis King. With that said, back to the video.
Usually when people battling or going at it like that on the record, it's serious before they get a chance to have a conversation. Sometimes they can squash it.
Beef is a trickier game now. I think that there are forms specifically for battling, and they're doing an amazing job. Even as big as the leagues become, as more mainstream as they become, they still retain their rawness and the opportunity for people to get out some pent-up aggression, for people to display their skill set. At the end of this, we can shake hands and we can go our separate ways. Now, that's not to say that there's not actual beef within battle rap. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying that at least it's an environment where people understand or have a general understanding that this stops here at the end of the event. When you're talking about an arena that mixes business, that mixes the livelihood of other human beings that are under contract to you, beef becomes a lose-lose situation. It creates invisible enemies. It creates blockages in places that you probably can't even see, even if you come out victorious. Why? Because people don't just work at one label for their entire lives. Some people are not just A&Rs for their entire lives at one label. People bounce around in the music industry. And although this was between you and this other person, people hold grudges. And when you have people's money involved, some people take that a different way. Because of, in my opinion, these labels egging this shit on, it makes it a lot more dangerous than just keeping it on wax. I salute Q because he gave a very honest answer in that I'm sure, like, look, I enjoy seeing two Spartans go at one another. But what I don't appreciate is seeing these outlets have the opportunity to tell the story of why they're beefing. And then 2 months, 6 months later, be able to post rest in peace to these artists. It's a dirty game, but what do you think? DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.